I'm going to show you how to make boxes to organize your craft room, and I'm going to make them from scraps. Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. I like to use these little boxes to help organize things I have in my craft room. Now this is a divided box that I have. I use it to hold my paper clips in, my little clothespins and clips and binder clips, and just other things. That mirror, you know what I use that mirror for? If I'm trying to figure out what a die says, I that's words, I hold it to the die. We're going to be making this thread organizer today, but I'm going to show you how to figure out the measurements. This is one of my favorite organizers. I have this in my stamp drawer, and it's two layers, obviously. The first layer is all my tiny distress inks, and then that upper layer holds my blending applicators, my anti-static tools, and anything else I'll use when I'm stamping. Just a couple of archival inks because I don't have anywhere else to put them. But, and you notice that little box, which needs a refresh all by itself, I had laminated so that way it doesn't get messy, or if it does, I just take a damp cloth and wipe it. But by having double layered things, I'm making very good use of my drawer space. And then finally, my favorite. So these stackable trays are from scrapbook.com. They're actually upside down, so I can utilize the space underneath. And I've made these little boxes so I can put in little scraps or ephemera or whatever I'm using with the collection. And the trays, two of them will go inside that one, or I can use them separately. But that is one of my favorite things to use. And like I said, I'm going to show you how to make that one for the thread, and you can use that same premise to make your own in all different sizes. I do usually use pretty paper, but those boxes that I use for ephemera, I kept white. I think a pattern would be too distracting. So I don't have a lot of thread, but I realize that if I don't put them in a little container, they move around and they become unraveled. So I want to make a little box to put them in. I'm going to use the grid on my cutting mat to determine what size I need. So I'm going to place all of these down close together. I am allowing for a little space to add one or two more. It's not going to hurt things if I add one or two more. If I was going to add a lot more, I would make the box that much bigger. But anyhow, I'll put them down and determine the size I need. Okay, so I've determined that I need my box 4.5 by 3.5 and 2 inches high. I have to, of course, keep in mind how tall my drawer is, or the space that it's going to go in, and make sure it's going to fit into that. Now I'm going to go through my chipboard pieces and see what I have that is close to that size, so I don't have to cut anything down too far and throw out extra chipboard. So now I know I'll need two pieces that are 3.5 and two pieces that are 4.5 and one piece that is 3.5 by 4.5. Now I'm going to go into my cardstock stash and take any black scraps I have that will fit the size. I will need 8 pieces that are 1 inch but scored in half, but 1 inch by 3.5, 8 pieces that are 1 inch by 4.5, and 8 pieces that are 1 inch by 2. So I'm just taking some scrap paper and I'm scoring it at 1/2 inch, 1.5, 2.5, and then when I'm done, I'll cut these into 1 inch strips. I'll go through and burnish these all, and then I'll go ahead and glue one of these onto each of the sides. So the 4.5 by 1 will go on the 4.5 side, etc. So I'm just going to glue one side on and have one side open, and that's where I'll put the 2 inch pieces on. So now I take the 2 by 4.5. Before I glue everything together, I realize I don't have anything for the very top of the box. It's just going to have the chipboard showing through, and I don't know. I just didn't want the chipboard showing through. So I took a couple more pieces and scored in the middle, and these are just going to go on the top of each of the side pieces. I do miter these just slightly, cut at an angle from the fold line to the open part, and then I fold these again and put them at the top of each of those 2-inch pieces. So those are the side pieces. I think, a secret between you and me, I think I take a marker and fill in those teeny little corners that you'll see a little bit of chipboard, but just it doesn't matter really. I mean, it certainly doesn't matter for the construction of it, but I wanted it to look pretty. So I will put all of these top pieces on the box, and then we'll put the top pieces on the corresponding sides. So I will grab my little piece, just figuring out how much space I need to have. I'll add a little glue to the very bottom, but ultimately it doesn't matter. I'm trying to figure out if I need to have a gap in it, and I decided that there needs to be a little bit of a gap, so it should be about the thickness of the chipboard. And you really can just eyeball it. I did try to use a piece of the chipboard somewhere down the line to make sure I had the right spacing, but in the end I just decided I'm just going to eyeball it and make sure. See how you use the piece just to see what the size looks like, but you don't need to do that. Just eyeball it. Just have a little bit of a gap. All right, and I take this one other piece that's 1 inch, scored at 1/2 inch, and cut it to 2 inches. And I will put them, I'll score and fold and burnish, and then I will put them on the side of the pieces. I'll put it all on one side so I can try to get it all to stand, all these sides to stand up at the same time. Oh, I had a little sliver that I needed to cut off. I put glue next to it thinking it's going to help, but it really doesn't. By the time I've got it all set up, that glue has dried. But it's worth a shot. If you need to miter the corners of those 2-inch pieces, go ahead and do that. Now, you really don't have to put pieces on the inside, but I've always learned that that's how to make a box, make it nice and sturdy. So I end up, I'm fitting it just to see if it's the right size. So these have to be a little bit smaller. So when I say it needs to be 1 inch by 4.5, it needs to be 1 inch by 4 3/8 basically. So just a little bit smaller than that. So I put it down at the bottom, then put glue in the side. And one more piece, just sized it to see if it's going to fit. Nope, I need to trim it down a little bit. And then it'll fit. And then burnish as good as you can all throughout. Now I still need little pieces for the side, so that is what I'm going to cut this paper to. It's got to be about 2 inches tall by 1 inch wide with a 1/2 inch score line. There, this box is not going to go anywhere. It is going to be solid, and it is. Let me tell you the measurements for the decorative paper to put on the outside. I actually used the same piece. I think I used the same. But the pink pattern I put on the inside and that blue pattern I put on the outside. Oh, here. This is where I'm taking the Sharpie. There's that teeny little piece of chipboard showing. So if you take a Sharpie or something black, some black marker, and fill it in, nobody will know you had little pieces showing. Now, there are gadgets helping you cover boxes, but it's a whole different construction, so I'm doing it this way. So the measurements of the decorative paper. So for the bottom of the box and the underside, actually, it's 4 3/8 by 3 3/8. So you'll need one for the bottom inside of the box and one for the bottom outside of the box. For the sides, for the longer sides, you'll need two if you're going to have two different papers, so you'll need two that are 4 3/8 by 1 7/8, or four. So in this case, I used four because, again, it's the pink plaid on one side of the paper and that pretty navy with the flower on the outside, but that will go, it's the same size. It's 4 3/8 by 1 7/8. And for the shorter side, you'll need four or 2 and 2 of 3 3/8 by 1 7/8. Okay, now if you wanted a divided drawer, you would have to take an extra piece of chipboard, so the same length as where you want it. And what I would do is glue it into place, and then when you're doing your 1-inch scored 1/2-inch pieces, you just need to put it at the bottom of each one. But let me show you an easier way of doing it so you don't have to do that. When you are putting your pieces in, just make something that's easy to come out, like these. So I did put in that pink plaid, but I took one piece and sort of made it looks like a hinge. I just took a scrap piece and scored it at 1 inch, and then at another 1/2 inch and another 1/2 inch, and glued that together so that way it divides. And the same for this. I just took another scrap and put it like that, so my little clippies will go in here, and this is the neatest you'll ever see it. It won't stay this neat. It'll stay all in the same thing, but they'll all just move around. Like by the end of the week it'll be like this, but that's okay. They'll still be in the same place. But that's a cheater way of making a little divider, and the good thing about that is over time, if your needs change, all you have to do is take this out or move it or replace it, and then you're good. So that is it. I love using little divider boxes to keep everything organized. You know, you first have to figure out what is important to you. So I hope you liked this little tutorial on how to make a little box so you can keep your things organized. The great thing is you don't have to go to the store to do it. Just raid your chipboard, or if you don't have chipboard, go grab some cereal boxes or cracker boxes or whatever you have. You can use lightweight chipboard. That's what I wanted to show you today. I hope that helps you get nice and organized when you're doing your craft room refresh. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fabulous day.